This is a very clever procedure, really developed in South Korea by a South Korean surgeon. And they've done it over there for years. But anytime you have a new procedure, and particularly a new device, you can't just bring it here to the United States. That's going to have to clear the FDA regulations. And so while they have quite a good experience in South Korea, it only recently got approved in late spring here within the United States. It may be a new procedure that I haven't done myself, but I'm very familiar with it. The Koreans, they were brilliant to develop it and independently do it on their own. But I've looked at it for years with a variety of other materials like silicone, but I never really wanted to do it because I knew it would probably be unstable. And so someone comes along, and again, to the South Koreans' credit, they make a metal one that really rigidly fixed the ilium, and that's a paradigm shift in being able to do it in a comfortable manner. There you are. Yeah. All right. Well, here we are. We've talked a lot about it. Now we're just going to have to do it. I think as we talked about yesterday, we'll get our incision. You've seen the implant. You know what it looks like. We'll get whatever screws we need in to do it. If we need to put a little incision further back to put another screw on the back part of it, we will. And then, we'll see if we think it's a good idea to put in our implant right on the underside of the titanium. There are two types of patients who might want the upper hip area augmented. It's going to be usually females or transgender male to females, but anybody that wants more hip projection, which will help their waistline to look more narrow. It can have other benefits of maybe it makes your rib cage look more narrow, may make your chest or your breasts look a little bit more curvy, but somebody who just has a straight body profile, or someone who's really trying to feminize the body shape they have. The hip is really a diverse area, and it fools people. If you think of most hip augmentations, you're really down in the hip dip or the lower hip area. But up here at the upper hip zone, near your waistline, that's the skeletal region of the hip area. And it's because of those differences you have to sort of figure out for people which area is going to benefit their body contouring needs the most. What you'll find here in the United States, because of the internet, people are very well aware of what goes on around the world. Everyone's well aware of this is an interest for them, probably, the fact that they do iliac crest and hip augmentation in South Korea. So many people probably have traveled there to have it. I know I see patients who occasionally have, but clearly there are people who would like to do it, but they really don't want to travel to South Korea to do it. When you're trying to really augment any area of the body, if you think about it, there's really three things to try to do. There's obviously synthetic fillers, which are very popular around the world. Not as popular here in the States because there's none really FDA approved. There's fat injections. There's actually hip implants, but hip implants don't really go up this far. So you have to really, with each patient, kind of look at it. And I like to image their body and show them a couple options so I can kind of figure out what type of hip augmentation are you actually seeking, and will it actually enhance what you're trying to accomplish. The key, like any procedure, is this going to be a benefit to the patient? A lot of times in procedures in my world, because of the internet, people have already defined it for themselves. Maybe they've photoshopped their own images or altered them or whatever. But suppose the patient didn't do that, but was interested in that. We always want to qualify the patient to make sure that they see it as beneficial, because the goal of any aesthetic surgery is you want to move people forward. Maybe you don't always get perfection, but you want to move them closer to what they want to accomplish. We don't want to go in a negative direction. If you look at the iliac crest, it's much more variable in shape than you think. This is the part we want to augment. Augmenting it back here doesn't help you. So we're really in the anterior half, maybe not even the 2/3. If you look at where the iliac crest implant is positioned, on the side of the ilium like this, you can actually see, by definition, you're going to create a deepening of the hip dip automatically. There is going to be no getting around it. There may be some people who maybe they'll be fine with the iliac crest implant alone, but Once you bring this out horizontally, you're going to create a void under here, a contour deformity. And so that's why most people are going to need the combo hip implant that abuts up against and fits into the implant with the metal iliac crest implant. So you do need a silicone flexible implant to interface with the metal iliac crest. You're in here by, you're lonesome? Well, let's see how in the world you're feeling here. I think it went quite well. It turned out to be exactly how I thought you would do it, and it went exactly how I anticipated it would go, including the need for the hip implant. What I'm only looking for is two things. What's the placement of these? And are they reasonably symmetric? And they are. You can see the 3 screws. And then we have our implants, which you can see are completely hooked under and in perfect position. You could not be in any better position. For me, the paradigm shift was understanding that this sits on the side of the iliac crest, which is the better way to do it. So once you understand that and you realize that all of these holes aren't going to fit and you're going to have to cut them off, once you realize that, then it's a pretty straightforward procedure. You really got the curve there. And this is what we were talking about last night. It's true that in the future, if you lipoed this would even go in more. Recovery is largely about how does it affect your walking. It'll be a little bit sore because the tensor fascia lata that really runs from the iliac crest down to the knee, of which although we don't detach it, we certainly scrape on it. And that can make, full standing up and full walking just a little bit sore. But people recover pretty quick within 2 to 3 weeks and are probably back to most strenuous physical activities in 4 to 6 weeks.